Hey everyone, this is Pete, and welcome back to Final Fantasy, where last time we cleared the Sky Fortress, and now we're pretty much ready to go and finish the game if we want to. But we don't want to do that yet, we want to go and do some endgame stuff. There are lots of things we can go and do now. So first thing we need to do is to go and find our airship, which is down to the south of where we are. So let's head in that direction. And get out of this godforsaken desert. Right, first thing we want to do is go and visit the dwarves. Because as you may recall, in the Sky Fortress, we found some adamantite. And there was a dwarf that wanted to get some adamantite. Now, if I could just remember where the dwarves were. Is this it? No. Oh no, they're all the way over there, aren't they? They were before we got out the Central Sea, whatever you want to call it. We can at least park near them, which is nice. Right. Who was it who wanted some adamantite? I think it was just a smith, wasn't it? Whoop!
Is this adamantite? Alright, I'll use this to make you the finest sword you'll ever wield.
And as if by magic.
Doing! In all my years, I've never crafted a finer sword. Go on, take her. She's yours.
You obtain Excalibur. Very nice. Oh, itchy nose. Excuse me. Alright, so we can now give that to Pierre, and it is way better than the Defender. So, that will do nicely. Thank you very much. Now, in the original game, I think that was the best weapon in the game. But not this version, I don't think. There are certainly other options in this game, let's put it that way. Alright, so, you may remember a bunch of episodes back, we paid a somewhat premature visit to the Earthgift Shrine, which is right here. And we got through it, but we got absolutely flattened by the boss. And that is because the 4 dungeons that open up after you defeat the 4 fiends in this game, you're supposed to do now, before you go and fight the final boss of the game. And so that's what we're going to do over the course of the next few episodes. There are 4 of these bonus dungeons called Soul of Chaos. They were added in the Game Boy Advance version, which was called Dawn of Souls. And they're each... well, they're supposedly each themed after an element. But in practice, that's just what they're called. And they're quite strange experiences. What they are is they are a series of floors. And exactly what you encounter on each floor is randomized from a list of possibilities. And so each time you visit one of these dungeons, you won't necessarily get the same sequence of levels. So this first one here, Earthgift Shrine, is just 5 floors. Then the one after that is 10 floors. Then the one after that is 20 floors. And then the final one is 40 floors. So we should be able to get through this one in one episode, definitely. The other ones, I don't know yet. It will depend on progress. And then after we've done all 4 of those, we can then tackle the Labyrinth of Time, which is the final bonus dungeon that was added in this PSP version. That wasn't in the Game Boy Advance version. And then we can go and beat the game. Sound good? Sounds good. Alright. Oh, before we go in here, I am going to save. Now, if you die in one of these dungeons, you don't get a game over, but it's still worth saving. Alright. So this first area is what opened up when we defeated, it was a Lich, the first one, wasn't it?
The thing went away, so I took a key inside. You are leaping over our gruesome monsters. I'd stay out if I were ye.
Well, ye are not we. Alright. First floor. So we have a cave with some treasures. Each time you revisit this dungeon, the treasures are restocked as well. And they are semi-randomized as well. Again, they're pulled from a list of possibilities. It occurs to me I should have probably stocked up on healing items, shouldn't I? How are we doing for those? I've got 94 high potions, 56 ethers. That should be alright for 5 floors. Some of these floors are quite short, so that shouldn't be too much of a problem. Famous last words tonight. Oh, I also didn't rest. Okay, you know what? I am going to cut out of here quickly. Who has the teleport spell? Oh, can you not? Oh, you can't warp out of here, can you? Tits! Well then, I guess we'll just have to use some of these. I'm not going to reload, because that's lame. We'll just deal with the consequences. As a 5 floors, how hard can it be? Especially now I've got Excalibur. And Sam's Fists of Fury. I like how even now we're knocking on the door of level 50. Sam still has fewer hit points than the White Mage. Or Tom, as we like to know him around here. That's a lot of wild necks. I believe this calls for some AoE. Come on. Thank you. Lovely. Alright, any more treasure? No, but there are monsters. Come on, Tim. Cast. Lovely. Thank you. Just a little bit quicker next time, if you will. If you hear any weird rattling, by the way, my cat is sitting on the table having a wash. And making the table wobble around while she's doing so, not a lot I can do about that. As my cat does what my cat wants. Given that she is in the room in here with us, and given past experience, she will probably pay us a visit at some point during this this next episode or so. But we'll deal with that when we come to it. Everyone actually doing a decent amount of melee damage now, even the mages. Right, next floor. Okay, so this floor, you may remember, we have to look for groups of palm trees. And they will guide us to the exit. Oh, nice. Down in one attack from Tim. Excuse me. Right, so we just wander until we find a group of palm trees, and then we follow them like an arrow. There we go this way. And then we go this way. And then we have a fight. The addition of Excalibur has made Pierre significantly better. Alright, then we go down from here. And then east. And then north. Remember, north. North, 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 north. Excuse me. And then, keep going north. Oh, over 1,000 damage. I think that's the first one we've had, isn't it? I thought it was going to be Sam. But it was Pierre. That makes me happy. Treasure! And there we are. There's the oasis. And the stairs down. Floor 3. Potion. Speed drink. Floor 4. This is the annoying one. This is the one that takes ages to get through. You may recall from last time, this is a big maze. Though frustratingly, you can see where you need to get to right away. But getting there, not so easy. Still, there will be some treasures to acquire along the way. That apple's like a permanent hit point increase, isn't it, I think? Alright, who is a bit lacking? Tim. So expect many fights on this floor. But at the level we're at, none of them should be too much of a difficulty. The only thing that's really going to threaten us in here is the boss. In which there are 4 possible ones you can fight, I think. So if you want to fill out your whole bestiary for the game, which I don't think we'll do, because it takes a long time and a bit of luck, yeah, you need to run through this 4 times. And fight all 4 bosses. I don't know. We'll see how long today takes. And if we get through pretty quickly, then we may well do a second run through it to just go and see what one of the other bosses is. But like I say, we do have this floor to get through first, which is going to take a little while. Excuse me. I really like the addition of these dungeons because although in many ways they feel quite different to the stuff in the base game, they feel like a good end game challenge. As if you want to compare it to sort of like MMO lingo or something like that, you can think of these dungeons as sort of the raids of the game, if you like. In that they're significantly tougher, they have some of the best loot, they have a strong focus on defeating powerful bosses. And they're designed to be done by people who've done everything else. Nothing there. I can't remember the route is the trouble. Going to adjust my cushion. Please excuse me a moment. Ooh, it's better. I stepped a bit funny. Had a bad back this morning. It is fun to be getting older. You don't really think about it happening until it does happen. And suddenly you're an old fart who gets woken up in the morning by backache. Or a cat. More commonly a cat, I have to say. So I'm not beyond help yet. I'm convinced on some occasions that the backache is caused by a cat. As my wife Andy often tells me that while I'm sleeping, I'm often completely unaware of the fact that I have a cat sleeping on me for a lot of the night. I can't complain too much. It means that they love us. Or that we're warm. One or the other. I choose to believe it's the first one. Oh, full figure damage from Sam as well. Very nice. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we should be alright to clear this place this time. I mean, I know we didn't have too much trouble with the enemies last time we tried this, but just the fact that even the mages are ripping through common enemies with melee attacks suggests to me that we're probably in a good position. We may as well grab all these lovely treasures while we're in here as well. As well, a lot of them are useless crap. You have a chance of getting some good equipment in here. And we're already pretty well tooled up, but if we can get even more well tooled up, then so much the better. So many fights, so many enemies, so much Farraga. Nice timing, Tim. Thank you very much. I like the sort of atmosphere in here. I've always found kind of purple tinge stuff to have a really nice atmosphere about it. Elven cloak. That's like a shield type thing, isn't it? I think. Yes. Alright, so that's a little bit better for Tom. And it's quite a lot better for Tim. Alright, let's give Tim that. Alright, both the mages are now a bit more well equipped. To give them both a bit more survivability. Yeah, you better run. One thing I find quite interesting about this game, sort of in context, is sort of comparing it to other stuff that was around at a similar time and a little while before. So, those of you who follow me on Patreon and thus get my weekly vlogs, you'll know that a little while back I picked up a Atari 8-bit copy of a game called the Temple of Apshai trilogy, which is a very early example of a computer role-playing game. Or rather, Temple of Apshai trilogy is a enhanced remake of a very early example of computer role-playing. And I find it kind of fascinating how that game deliberately almost doesn't have a structure. So, like, there's no way you can finish that game. All you do in that game is you just go into the dungeons repeatedly, fight monsters, get treasure, earn more money, repeat, and just try and get as strong as possible. And then there are 2 expansion packs that you can move on to if you're a bit stronger or if you just want a bit of variety. But yeah, I'm pretty sure there's no way of finishing it. There's no final boss. There's not really a story to it. And I just find it interesting to compare and contrast that sort of approach, which is a very Western thing to do, with this, which obviously has a much clearer structure. It's still obviously Western influenced. We've talked a bit how this feels rather like a dungeon crawler at times, much more so than later Final Fantasies. But there's still a clear structure. There's still a clear order in which you're supposed to do things. There's still a clear final goal. There's a final boss. Alright. I think we might be nearly there, in fact. Because I think the exit is around here somewhere. And I mean, going back to what I was just saying, Temple of Apshai trilogy isn't a bad game for not having a structure. I just find it interesting in that regard, that you deliberately sit down and play something that you can't finish. Although I guess in many ways that's no different to someone sitting down to play something like Civilization or Crusader Kings 2 or something like that. I mean, Civilization you can technically win, but it's not like you finish the game when you've won one match of Civilization. You can then play it again. You can play on a larger map. You can play with more people. You can play with human opponents instead of computer opponents. You can try for a different type of victory. Very open-ended. And I guess that's just the same sort of thing in Temple of Apshai. You can just sort of set yourself your own goal and you can decide, right, I want to develop my character to a point where I can see every room in the 4th level of the dungeon. Because there were 4 levels to the main dungeon in the base game. I want to complete the map of the 4th level of the dungeon. That's a sound goal. But, like, you don't get anything for doing that aside from your own sort of personal sense of satisfaction. There's no end sequence, there's no credits, there's no grand hero's welcome or anything like that. You've just accomplished your own goal. Which is very much in keeping with tabletop role-playing in some ways, which Temple of Apshai was very heavily based on. In fact, it makes quite a big selling point of the fact that you can write down your character in Temple of Apshai trilogy and then transplant it straight back into Dungeons and Dragons, which is kind of cool. And that also means you can go the other way as well. So if you've been playing a tabletop Dungeons and Dragons game with friends, you can easily import that character into Temple of Apshai. Which is pretty neat. But anyway, Temple of Apshai will definitely come up in the Atari A to Z series. As I record this, we're on, I think L is the next letter, so we're not that far off to coming around to T again. So yeah, I'm definitely going to make a point of exploring that at least once. What I'm thinking I might do is have a look at it 3 times, because there's the original game and then there's the 2 expansion packs. So there's a Temple of Apshai trilogy, the Upper Reaches of Apshai, and the Curse of Ra. And with the way the alphabet's arranged conveniently, I can explore those in the correct order as I go around the alphabet. So I can do Temple of Apshai first. I can do Upper Reaches of Apshai when I get to U, which actually is the following week, isn't it? And then I can do Curse of Ra when we get back to C. Because exploring each one of those is going to take a little while, I think, so... But anyway, Final Fantasy's pretty cool, huh? Yeah. Alright, I think we've done it, haven't we? Yeah, right. Do I... It's not technically cheating if the option is there, is it? But I still feel it's against the spirit of things. I feel it's against the spirit of things to save in the middle of a dungeon, so I'm just going to heal up, and we're going to take on a boss. Right, so there are 4 in here. I'm just going to take the bottom left one first. Hello.
So you've managed to reach these depths. I commend you. But your journey ends here, I'm afraid.
No shit, it's Final Fantasy 3 music. Okay, right. Fight. You fight. You... What does Cerberus do? Shit. Lightning, I think. You can... Haste, Sam. 2 damage. Ooh, lovely. Oh, yes, please. Right, I think we're good. Absolutely obliterating his defense already. Right, combine that with some Protecti-Tecti. And then you can haste Pierre again. Very nice. "24 hits. Then you can... what else have we got? It's invisible, a black magic spell. I think you can stack a lot of these. Oh, maybe I don't have Invisora. I thought I did. Oh well, never mind. Temper! I was right. Shock. No shock! Ooh, still quite painful. Nice! We've done it, boys and girls! And we have a Kotetsu, which I don't think anybody can use. Oh no. But it's shit. But that's good, isn't it? Well, I'm glad we had this little talk, Cerberus. See you later. Could we have just gone and fought the other bosses? I'll be annoyed if that's the case. Anyway, I guess we don't have much option now. Right, because that only took half an hour, I'm going to go and restock. And then we'll do one more run of that. Where? There you are. Oh, this is one you have to park miles away from, isn't it? I was convinced that, like, you beat one of the bosses and then you had to leave. I might still be right, which is why I want to do a second run through it, just to sort of make sure. But if we can fight all 4 bosses in one run, that'll be cool. I'm pretty sure you can't do that for whatever reason, though. Alright, let's have a nice rest first. And then let's stock up on consumables. Which are... not there. Not there. There. Hello. Yes, lots of those, please. And also lots of those, please. And... you know what? Lots of those. Nothing else to spend money on at the minute, so why the fuck not? Right. We good. Just tried to get into my airship, but it wasn't there. Lovely crit from Sam. Marvellous job. Right. Okay, here we go. Second run of the day. See, it's just like raiding. Where am I going? This way. Alright. Ready, check. The party leader has registered you for duty. Let's do this. Alright, so you'll see this time around that the order of the floors will probably be different. And also, you'll see in some cases, like the cave floors like we've got here, you'll often appear at a different point on the floor. I don't know if it moves the exit around, but it certainly starts you in different places sometimes. So like before, the exit was over here, wasn't it? And it still is. Okay, so the exit stays where it is, but your starting location is different. Get out of here, you wild necks. You don't scare me. Trying to remember which Final Fantasy it was where it sort of increased all the damage tenfold. I think it might be Final Fantasy 2. But like in this game, getting over 1,000 damage is a significant moment. In later Final Fantasies, it's still significant, but it happens a lot earlier. And so in later Final Fantasies, what you're looking at is trying to get each character as close to 9999 damage as soon as possible. Or in the case of Final Fantasy X onwards, getting up to 5-figure damage and being able to use that damage limit break. Or indeed Final Fantasy XIV, where I believe damage numbers are completely out of control at the minute. I've not played it for a while at the time of recording, so... But it was already starting to get pretty huge at the end of base game Stormblood, so... And now they're well into Shadowbringers, with the first major patch of that has been released as I record this. Featuring the Nier raid, which I'm very curious about, but I'm also taking great care not to spoil myself on at all. Because although it's going to be a while before I get to Final Fantasy XIV on this series, I want as much of Shadowbringers to be a surprise for me as possible. Because I hear it's really, really good. I don't know why it's really, really good yet. I've managed to remain unspoiled on that so far. But I'm looking forward to it. I haven't decided yet, but whether I want to actually wait until I get there in this series, or if I want to do what I'm doing with Final Fantasy XI, which is actually sort of recording stuff now, and then I'll just publish it when we get to that point in the series. I haven't decided yet. As I used to play Final Fantasy XIV a lot. My wife still does play Final Fantasy XIV a lot, and we have some good friends who play that game. And in some respects, I miss it. And in other respects, I really don't. I don't miss the daily/weekly grind. I don't miss certain things about the community, like the emphasis that has sort of developed on speedrunning. I don't know. Maybe I just sort of ended up thinking about it in the wrong way. So I always wanted to continue enjoying Final Fantasy XIV as a Final Fantasy first and foremost. And it still is a very good Final Fantasy. Let's make no mistake about that, particularly if you just follow the main story. But once you start getting into the endgame content and the raids and that sort of thing, that's when you start running into sort of the community issues. And again, like I say, it's probably more of a mindset thing than anything else. You just need to approach it with the right mindset. And like me and Chris have talked about this on the Moe Gamer podcast a few times. It's a case of approaching something and considering how well it's doing what it's obviously been designed to do, rather than what you want it to be. So while I want Final Fantasy XIV to be a good Final Fantasy, and it is a good Final Fantasy, it is also an MMO. It is also a very good MMO. So I think if and when I ever go back to playing it, I need to bear that in mind a bit more. And consider that not everyone playing that game is necessarily going to want to sort of treat it as a Final Fantasy. Some of them are there just to enjoy a multiplayer game. But, well, anyway, I'm sure we'll talk more about that when we actually get to Final Fantasy XIV. It's going to be interesting to approach that, because I haven't quite decided how I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to start a new character. Because I already have a character who is up to the end of base game Stormblood. But also in the latest patch, they've added a new game plus mode that allows you to replay story content from Heavensward onwards. But that means you can't play right from the very beginning with an existing character. And although a lot of people kind of hate on A Realm Reborn these days for its slow pacing, but A Realm Reborn is incredibly special to me, as it got me through a pretty tough period in my life. Again, I'll talk more about this when we actually come to play it. But yeah, it got me through some really tough times. And thus that base game experience is always going to be incredibly special to me. In fact, there's something that can probably be said about a lot of this series as a whole. Although I originally only came to Final Fantasy for the first time with 7, much like a lot of people, the Final Fantasies that I did play, or that I have played over the years, I can sort of associate them with particular periods of time in my life. Things that were happening in my life. And the context in which I was enjoying these, whether it was a welcome distraction from bad things that were happening, or if it reminds me of good times. Like Final Fantasy VII certainly reminds me of very good times indeed. Because it was sort of the time when me and my friends were at sixth form. It was that lovely period of your life where you don't feel you really have to care about anything too much. It's like, you know, you need to get your A-level results and that sort of thing, but aside from that, if you were knuckling down and doing your work to the best of your ability, then you didn't have anything to worry about. You could just kick back and enjoy some games with friends. And that's exactly what we did. Over the course of one summer, me and my friend, we played through Final Fantasy VII at least 10 times, I believe. Usually under the influence. But again, these are all stories for when we actually get to that particular game. Oh, I missed a chest. And I gone the wrong way. Wonder if this is going to be another elven cloak. That would be nice. And then Tom can have one as well. If you're still seeing the camera shake, that's because my cat is still having a wash. Evidently she's very dirty. Particularly around the bumhole area. And I get right in there. It's not what I need to be seeing. Chest. Oh, elven cloak. I appear to have been mistaken. Evidently these chests aren't randomised. Fair enough. Well, I'm not going to say no to that. Move. Thank you. Got into a fight anyway. You know, one of the things I'm enjoying about doing this series in particular is that it's not that the game is mindless, but it's the fact that when we're doing a dungeon like this, it provides plenty of opportunity to sort of tell some stories and talk about things and that sort of thing. I hope you're enjoying listening to some of them. I know that they're probably quite personal to me, and a lot of them probably have a certain element of you had to be there about them, but I'm enjoying telling them. And so as I've been experimenting with video over the course of the last probably year and a bit at this point, I've sort of been constantly considering the different ways I can handle things and the ways that I should explain things and what I should talk about. It's like one of the biggest things that people struggle with when they decide to start doing either Let's Plays or streaming or something like that is, well, what do you talk about? How do you fill the time? Do you need to constantly be talking? As you can probably tell from what I do, I don't necessarily believe that you always need to be talking. Sometimes it's nice to just have a little bit of peace and quiet, but equally at the same time, I really respect those people who can keep talking constantly for the entire duration of an episode and keep things interesting and always have something to say, whether it's about the game in question or a story about the game or just something interesting to talk about. I don't know if I'm always interesting, but I certainly always seem to be able to find something to talk about, at least. And I feel particularly conscious of that in this series. I don't know if that will develop as we get into the more complex, longer games. But certainly for now, this is a nice, comfy game to play and talk. We're in a position now where we just need to fight our way through. It's just a matter of just fighting our way through. We know that we can handle the challenges ahead of us. Maybe need to think a little bit more when we get to the boss battles, but aside from that, yeah, pretty chill. I gone the wrong way, haven't I? Balls! I'm actually doing a cracking amount of damage with those cat claws. Alright, through here. How are we doing on time? Well, not an hour yet. And the next floor is the boss floor, so... Move. Ah! You look at how we're fighting through in this. It's pretty straightforward and simple. We are just hitting the attack button basically. But if you look at like modern mobile RPGs, stuff like Grand Blue Fantasy, that sort of thing, it's a similar sort of thing. You have occasional skills that you use. But for the most part, it's just about setting up your characters so that they can deal enough damage to rip through the enemies in their path. And so this sort of simple style of RPG is still relevant today. Albeit in a slightly different form. But I think that's why this game has aged so well. It's because the way it plays is still relevant. People still play RPGs like this. And even in its original NES incarnation, which is a lot more clunky in terms of interface and has a lot of bugs, particularly with spells. Yeah, you can still play that perfectly well today. We got a cat approaching. Hello. What are you doing? You can't get through there. You're stuck there, aren't you? You're stuck on my microphone cable. There you go. Apologies. I did warn you it might happen though. Alright, bring it on. Let's fight you!
You have done well to come this far, but you will go no farther.
Yeah. It's Echidna. I don't know what you cast, so let's have protect. And then haste. And another one for good measure. Haste. Oh. You do that, do you? Well, that's no good, is it? Right, well. Life! And haste again. No, no! Use your brain, Tim. Missed. Alright, you Curaja. You haste. No! Ow. Well, that wasn't helpful, was it? Neither was that. Keep punching, Sam. Life. And, temper. Right, please stop killing Pierre. There we go, that's better. And as always, it's good to know that even the super bosses follow that pattern. Alright, okay, so you can't go back and fight the other bosses. That's good, because I thought that you'd have to... I thought you could go out and fight the other ones and get them all in your bestiary at once, but no. You can only fight one per run. So, time to leave, I guess. Alright, and I think we'll go and have a quick nap at Cornelia, beg your pardon. And that will do for today. Just shy of an hour. Not bad going for 2 runs, eh? Alright, with that, it just remains for me to say, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Thanks for watching.
If you enjoyed this video, please help out the channel by leaving a like or a comment and subscribing. Be sure to check out moegamer.net for new articles on Japanese and Japanese-inspired video games, new and old, every weekday. Every month, Moe Gamer features an in-depth exploration of an individual game or series as its cover game, so be sure to check the archives to see if your favourite has had a deep dive yet. If you'd like to support the site directly, please consider becoming a patron or buy me a coffee. You can find links to do both down in the video description. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.